Hello and welcome back. So if you've caught up and you've done all of the programs so far and you've managed to make it your own and you managed to really make it jazzy, you've got multiple asteroids and you've managed to actually play it, then you may have noticed a slight niggle with it. You could call it a bug, and that issue is that sometimes you die when you weren't actually hit by an asteroid, or an asteroid dies when it wasn't actually hit by a bullet. So let's have a look at what's actually happening here. So you've got your asteroid. It's not intended to look vaguely like Australia. And what you've got is your bullet going past, and your bullet goes, let's change the pen color. Your bullet goes there. Misses it. However, the system recognizes it as a hit and the asteroid dies. Something's not quite right there. So the issue, what's actually happened here, is that we've got the rectangle box. So this asteroid has a box around it, which will be slightly tighter to it, like that. That is your bounding box, and you can see that this line from the bullet does indeed hit the bounding box. Therefore it detects a collision, therefore there's a hit and the asteroid dies and you've got a point. Or if it's your ship, sorry, your ship has blown up even though you haven't actually touched the asteroid. Now, this has some pros and cons. The obvious con is it feels remarkably unfair when you die like this. You'll find that computer games will tend to be very generous in their bounding box, and you may have it on some computer games where it feels like you've got a ledge like that, and you're edging your character closer and closer to the edge, and it may feel like at some point you're stood like that. That is because your bounding box is still slightly over the edge, and so it's been generous to you on that account. The games would like to be generous to you because if you're standing on a ledge and you're standing there and you fall, you feel cheated and you're annoyed at the game. The game wants you to feel like you're cheating death, not you're being cheated. Okay, so another pro of this is that the maths is remarkably simple. All you got to check is it below this line and above this line? Is it within that line and that line? That's really simple calculations. If you're trying to check if it's within this weird shape, then the maths becomes a lot more complicated, which means it takes more processing power, which means when you have a complicated game and you're going at 60 frames a second, if you've got 100 objects which you're comparing it to see if you've hit, and you're doing complex arithmetic on each one, that's a lot of calculations and it may slow down your game. You want things to be as efficient as possible. So if you just do it by the bounding box, then you can do a lot more with your game. So ideally, if I get rid of these guys, we want a compromise. We want to be able to check if this in the bounding box in the general case. However, what we can do is we can say, hang on, that is a hit inside the bounding box, so now we can spend some extra time just checking this one object against this one asteroid to see if there's a collision. And what we use for that is a mask. Now what a mask does is it will just look at the shape and it will just say this is outside it, this is inside it. As far as the computer's aware, a mask of this would look like that ish. So that's roughly what the mask will look like. Just that area, that's inside, that's out. It doesn't care about any details in that. All it cares about is what's inside, what's outside, so it'll just be a simple covering of what's inside, what's outside. And then it will see, does this intersect with that mask? Okay, so what does this actually look like in Python? Well, first of all, you need to create a mask for the sprite. Now, the main thing which we're concerned about is the asteroids. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, asteroid, you've got a mask, and that mask is from the surface. So from pygame.mask.from the surface which we're taking from is your own image. And then we want to update that every time because we're spinning so much. There we go. So we've got a mask, and that's generating just that template. This is what's inside, this is what's outside. Okay, that is half the battle. Now what we want to do, when we are colliding a bullet, for example, I'm just going to do it for bullets, you can do it for the ship or anything else. When we're detecting the hit, like here, instead of just saying, well, you've hit, what we can say is essentially do it again. We could do it against all the sprites in Asteroids, or we could do it against just the specific one which we think we've collided with. We don't want to delete them. Now we can put an extra bit on the end. Sprite.collide mask. So that's how we're judging the collision. Now, if hit list still exists, then we know that they're really a hit. And that will avoid all of the near misses like we see in this example. So that's it for this one. We'll just check that we can still shoot our asteroids. There we go, we missed very close. That would have killed it otherwise, but this time, there we go. We hit the asteroid and we've won. Awesome. So see if you can get things working properly. Good luck.